So maybe one by one go through your siblings. Tell me what they were like growing up.
Oh, Rusty and Paul. One of the things with Rusty and I think Rusty and I were closer. Because Uncle Paul, he was very young, and I don't know, Uncle Paul kind of stayed to himself. He played with dust, so to speak, and I could never figure out his imagination with that. But Uncle Rusty and I, for the most part, we played good. His imagination was pretty much like mine. Back then, like I said, we didn't have a lot of toys and stuff like that, but we was able to make stuff up. And I used to have like a little string man. It's hard to describe to talk about the string man. The string man was like a string, not literally like a long string, and you play with a string man like that. No, this string here, special string. This string here was tied up like in so many different knots, and in such a fashion where it had arms and it had legs. All right, so it was tight. How we got tied like that, I don't know, but it had muscles and it had a head, and that was my string man. Back then Hercules was the big thing. That was the big thing. It's not like the Hercules today, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where you see the really big muscles. Well, this Hercules was more like a Superman, and like the muscles that you thought were muscles that God. That was kind of Hercules that we had, and that was my Hercules. So it might be strong man and stuff like that. And we had, we used to play on the side of the bed. Rusty and I. Anytime there was a bad day or anything like that, we played on the side of the bed. And we had our own little crazy stories that we played and stuff like that. For the most part, we did a lot of things together. I mentioned the organ that eventually got stolen from, Mommy and I. When we had not organ, tape recorder. This tape recorder that got stolen. We had this tape recorder, and and Uncle Rusty would probably make a big joke out of this too, because as to have him do it, I had an organ that I was given for Christmas. One of the lame gifts that I used to get. I got, excuse me, a little small white organ with the keys and stuff like that. And I did a thing called the Gettysburg Address, 7 years ago, and I had the organ like that, but it was like preaching, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth to this continent a new nation. And that's what Rusty and I used to do, and we used to record that. Rusty could probably do it better than I can now, but that was the thing I had him do over and over and over. So it was some of the crazy things that we did as we were growing up. As far as dinner and stuff like that was concerned, oh, forget it. Rusty was the worst. I used to hate the way Rusty eat. You see how big and fat he is now. Rusty, I still love you. I know when you see this, I still love you, man. But Rusty used to eat, and I used to hate the way he ate, because the fact that we sit down, we always ate together for the most part. Grandma, when she made dinner, it was time. She would call us, and we sat at the table, make sure you wash your hands. We all went in there, make sure you wash your hands, get to the table, and Grandma would serve us. But when we sat down, we said our blessing, said prayers and stuff like that, sit down and we started eating. Rusty used to eat with his mouth open, and that used to irritate me so bad. That used to make me so mad. I used to hate it. And we had a lot of stupid fights because of that. And I used to always whip his butt. And Rusty was like, you can't imagine Rusty being, slim at that time, but he was, But for the most part, that was it, Rusty and Paul, Rusty and Paul, growing up, we had, I guess, like the best times, growing up. You don't learn about how much you love your brothers and how much your brothers love you and how much they respect you and stuff like that until you actually grow up. And when you become an adult, and once you become an adult, you see the kind of respect that your brothers, the kind of plateau that your brothers hold me up to. Being the oldest one, my brothers, they had a lot of respect for me, and I appreciate that. One of the things I did learn growing up as well is that Uncle Paul's smart. He's really, really smart. And even though I may not have said it, I always knew that he was very smart. But I just never wanted to be outshadowed when it came to brains. But when it came to brains, Uncle Paul definitely had it. But they, for the most part, depended on me, I guess for leadership, I guess for the most part it was mostly leadership. You know, there are things that Uncle Rusty did that I wish he hadn't have done. You know, because there's not to say that I was such a tough guy. I wasn't a punk either. You know, but I remember when we were very young in our teens and stuff like that. And Uncle Rusty used to get himself into, you know, a tassel, if I can use that for lack of a better word, you know, with whoever and whatnot, you know. And then when I show up, he said, well, now my brother's here. And it'll be this big guy. Like, I'm supposed to go and fight this guy and whatnot, you know. And the guy, you know, he would say something like, he dared me to do it. Now, oh gosh, now you want me to go fight this guy. And it was just like stupid things he would do, he would say. But now, when you look at Rusty now, Uncle Rusty now, you know, he's a big guy himself, you know, so he no longer needs little old me, you know, that you know, you know. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, you know, I've always been the kind of guy, you know, that you know that I guess I've been some kind of a leader most of my life, you know, that you know, I've always had, not to say an ability to lead, I just always felt as though that I knew, and I wasn't just say a take charge type person, but I was more of a thinker than anything else, and what you know, and I guess it was a little bit more, I don't know, best way to put it, and what you know, not to say even aggressive, you know, I was basically the one that made me kind of like, you know, push forward when others wouldn't, you know, I would do it when others wouldn't do it, and stuff like that, or I took the chance when others wouldn't take the chance. You know, so I was kind of like you know, a chancy, kind of a brave kind of a person, kind of a chancy kind of a person. You know, as you know, Rusty and I and Uncle Paul and whatnot, you know, and with Annette, you know, Annette, when I met my sister, my first sister.
How was she? I know she grew up with the disability.
Yeah. When Annette, when you know that happened because you know, well, Grandma, the way she said to me, is that she had a difficult birth and whatnot, you know, and she kind of blames herself for that reason, you know, and that came out, you know, prematurely, you know, and that part of her was developed, you know, wrong. And Grandma, and whatnot, you know, kind of blamed herself, and she always blamed herself throughout her whole life. You know, Grandma blamed herself for that. And that, you know, in the beginning, when she was very, very young, she walked on her toes. You know, she could not flatten her feet, you know, so she walked on her toes. But she was my sister, my first sister, my only sister, and whatnot, you know. And it's like, I mean, we were all very protective of that, you know, that, especially when she was growing up. She had a number of operations, you know, and she was in and out that hospital a lot during her childhood days. And I remember at that, you'll see some of the pictures where she got the braces on her legs. That was like after maybe one or two operations. I don't even know how many operations she had at that time when they started putting the braces on. And the way she walked and so on and so forth. You'll see in the picture in the album where she's with Pam and Cookie, you know, and that is standing there. And then you know, when you were born and stuff like that, I mean, even when you were young, and that at this time she was a teenager. And Mommy and I had already, you know, we got married and stuff like that. And I remember in that, you know, as she was at that time, at that age, she can dress like herself very, very pretty. You know, she looked very pretty. And I have a picture of her where she had on this outfit, this black outfit, and her hair is done in such a way where I used to brag about it. And this was during the time when I was doing my acting days. And I remember I had pictures of Annette. And I used to show those pictures off. I used to show those pictures off, you know, to different directors or people that I was with. You know, different people I was with doing the, you know, anytime if I had we was doing we used to get together for like it's sort of like if we was going to rehearse or something like that. Any kind of like acting studies that we did, I got together with a group of other actors and stuff like that, performers, we'd all get together. Well, time I got together like that, I brought Annette's picture, and that's where I felt about it at that time. I really wanted to get her started, you know. But you know, my brothers, my siblings, yeah, no, we never had fights, we never had arguments, we never fought each other. You know, growing up, we were just, you know, we was a family, and you know, we had a lot of respect for each other. And, you know, as it stands right now, like I said, the way it is now, I guess they're looking at me even more so now. I want to let you know because Grandma's gone, you know, and you know, I'm like the next in line, you know. I mean, I don't know if Rusty and Paul actually look at it like that, because it was always that level. It was always that degree of looking at things in terms of you know, our structure goes. You know, Grandma, you know, Uncle Mike, and then there's, you know, you and you know, on down to Tyler, and then it goes down, it goes all the way down. You know. So yeah, I don't know, you know, but I don't know, you know, for me, Rusty, Paul, and Annette, and let you know, me being now 69 years old, and you know, I guess it's you know, it's a feeling of it's a feeling like you know, like I have to continue to kind of like take control and make sure that my brothers and sisters are okay.
So tell me about Derek and Tisha and myself growing up, the type of kids we were.
Listen, you guys, you're my heart, all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? You are my heart, and you've always been. I mean, you for the most part. I mean, you being my firstborn and whatnot. You know, I mean, I did things with you. I wanted to have you guys. I wanted Mommy to have you guys very early. You know, when I'm not early, it's because of the fact I wanted to be able to play basketball with you guys. I wanted to be able to go to the movies and do things with you guys, go to the park with you guys, do everything with you guys, and that's how fathers should feel. I mean, that's the way I was. That's the way I felt. You know, and we did have those times. I mean, we did a little fishing. You know, we did play basketball and stuff like that, and I learned to get faster than me. So, you know, so yeah, you guys growing up and whatnot, you know, it's always been, you know, you've always been my heart and whatnot, you know, it's always been my heart, you know. The many things that you guys do, I mean, it affects me, you know, today and whatnot, you know, no matter, even though you guys are grown and you got your own families and stuff like that, it still affects me. You know, certain things that you do, if you're in trouble or something like that, it still affects me. You know, if you're broke or stuff like that, affects me. So no matter what, I mean, there's that tie that you can never disconnect. You know, there's always that connection that it won't never unravel. You know, so, you know, to say, you know, as far as you guys growing up, I mean, I feel as though that, you know, my decision to do what I did was the right decision. That Mommy stay home, you know, and that Mommy raised you, and that Mommy make sure that you study, and that Mommy helps you with your homework, and that Mommy's always there, and that I stay and continue what I was doing. And when I, you know, as far as raising, as far as, you know, keeping you guys safe and making the money and coming home and making sure that I'm there for you. You know, so yeah, you know, and I'm pretty sure even yourself and you know, you felt the same way about Thailand. You know, you have this, you know, that connection, that bond that can't be disconnected. You know, it's just impossible. It's just no way.
So you know everything that's going on now with the Floyd situation and
Yeah,
you know, what's going on. How you feel about all that?
it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. You know, I mean, it's hard for me now to even look at Facebook because everything I'm seeing in Facebook and that is all these different things that's going on and whatnot, you know, and especially with the cops, you know, and it's scary. I'm not that scared for myself, you know. I'm more scared for you guys, you know. That's why I've always said, you know, for years, for as long as you can remember, I would imagine since you've been driving, you know, that if you get pulled over by a cop, make sure they can see your hands, you know. And nowadays, it seems that matters have gotten worse. I'm seeing these cops, you don't know who to trust anymore. You don't know if it's good cop, bad cop, you just don't know. And you have friends who are cops and whatnot, you know, so I know it's difficult for you and whatnot, you know. But the whole thing is that, you know, I see everything that's going on in this racism, you know, the prejudice, and it's just, you know, it's really hard, you know, it's really hard because of the fact that I got white friends, you know, I got friends, people I see in the store, you know, I got friends who became friends just by acquaintance and whatnot, you know. Sometimes we look at it, isn't that like, isn't when we see each other with all this that's going on, you have this, I don't know, this shield of protection and whatnot, about what to say, how to say it, and be careful what you say type attitude, so I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how you kind of feel, and that's how a lot of my white friends kind of look at me and whatnot. So like, growing up now, I mean, the way the situation is now, all I can do is hope and pray, that we get this, president out. President Trump, he's like the worst president ever. I mean, I've never seen so much racism until now. Even during my childhood days and the Martin Luther King days and the things during that time with Martin Luther King, I mean, I was 14 years old. I didn't understand it at that time. I didn't understand it until I got married. I mean, that's sad to say. I didn't understand what Martin Luther King's march did until I got married. I didn't understand a lot of different things that happened during that time, even though I was living and was part of that time, until I got into my early 20s. That's stupid, And then all the different things that happened in between there up until today, and then you back into it and you look at that now. When I was working in Manhattan, what's his name, King, when the cops that beat up King, this was in California, and when I saw that was in the 80s, I believe, and they beat him, how many cops, 40 cops, I don't know how many cops, they all bombarded him, and beating with bats and the whole 9 yards, and all the stuff that was going on during my time, it was just so much, and then now, with the things that continue to go on, you don't look at these cops, and it's such a safe way anymore. A situation that happened to me when I was taking Alvin. I took Alvin. This is the time when I was taking, but when Alvin was staying here for a little while. This is a few years back, and I used to drive him to work. I was trying to help him get back on his feet. So I said, "All right, I'll help him stay here." That's when he first got the job working at the cheese factory. So he had no way to go to work. So I was to drive him to work in the morning, and I was to pick him, or like say in the early afternoon, I believe, and then pick him up at night. He used to get up like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, So yeah, it was kind of hard for me, difficult for me. But I remember one particular afternoon, I dropped Alvin off over there at Menlo Park at the cheese factory over there, and there was a cop, they pulled right behind me, cop car pulled right behind me, and I could see him through my rearview mirror. Now, Alvin, for the most part, I pulled him up to the factory, up to the restaurant. He gets out of the car, says, "All right, I'll see you later on." And I see the cop. Now, I sat there for, a couple of minutes, I guess, waiting. I'm thinking the cop was checking my license or whatever. I'm waiting for him, nothing. So I figured everything's okay. So I started to pull up. I might have got a couple of yards, and all of a sudden, whoop, whoop, the cop pulls me over. So I pulled over to the side and whatnot, And this cop couldn't have been no more than about, like, late 20s maybe, I don't even think he was even 30 years old yet. He was late 20s. And he gets out of the car. First he said he was like checking my place again or whatever he was doing. Then he comes over to the window and asks for my license and registration and stuff like that. And I said, "Was there a problem?" He said, "Yeah, give me your license." But now I get the attitude, So I gave him the license and registration and stuff like that, And he takes it, walks to the back and so on and so forth. And I asked him again, is there a problem? He said, "Yeah, you almost hit me." And now I'm thinking that this is a joke, because how am I able to almost hit you if you're behind me? I said, "Are you serious?" He said with an attitude and whatnot, that is though, how dare I ask that question type attitude, And he just said yes, and he said, "I need to be a little bit more careful next time." So that's when I gave him my license and stuff like that. He waited again. And so I put my stuff away. I thought he was gonna pull off, but no, I had to leave. I just left. And I told your friend Andrew about that. And that's when you told Andrew and he got me the badge. So the next time that happens, show him that benevolent badge, So yeah, racism, man, how many years ago? That was a couple of years ago. And then you look at what's going on now. You look at what's going on now with the George Floyd. Here it is, this cop literally, slowly killed George Floyd.
8 minutes, 46 seconds.
Yeah, now it could be you understand? It could be Derek. It could be Tisha for that matter, because you see him beating women up. You know, it could be any of my kids. You know, it could be me. Yeah, of course. You know, it could be Alvin. You know, and this is the stuff that we got to tolerate. And the whole thing is that why should we have to tolerate it? That's the big question. Why do we have to tolerate something like this here? Why can't there be change? And the whole thing is that when you look at it, President Trump has been in there, this being the 4th year and hopefully his last year. Look at all the mess that's happened in this whole time. You know, and I don't understand how black people, some black people, still believe in him. I don't understand it. You know, I've seen on Facebook where this girl she's dressed up in those confetti and what do you call it, type uniforms, you know, with the flag, you know,
Confederate flag.
Confederate flag. Well, she had a shirt like that, you know, and the flag in the backyard and whatnot. And she's black like me and you. And are you serious? You know, so yeah. And there was something else that said, all this is in Facebook, you know. Now, the one advantage that we have today, as opposed to during the Martin Luther King Day, is that we got the media. You know, we got people with cameras. So now the world knows, you know, and that's the only difference. It's really up to us, not us literally, but the youth, you guys, you know, to make that change. And that's where I see it. The only way the change is going to happen is through you guys, you know, and everyone like you.